Do you feel like you could get more performance out of your PC? Well, today I'll be showing you 15 mistakes that are actively decreasing your FPS and increasing your latency, and also how to fix them. I personally have made some of these mistakes myself in the past, and others I've seen frequently happen on our clients' PCs, and I'm certain you're doing at least a few of these things wrong. So let's get into the video. Alright, so the first thing that we're going to be doing is downloading the resources used in the video. So for that, you just want to go to my Discord server, linked in the description, and go over to the free tweaks category right here. In here, you should find 15 mistakes that are killing your FPS, and just press on download resources. This will take you to a Google Drive. In this folder, all you have to do is just right click on this top little part and press download. Alright, so it will show up in the top right corner right here. You just want to press on it. It will open as a folder. Just press the extract button, extract again, and boom. So now we're in the folder, and the first thing that we're going to be doing, this is really important, make sure to make a restore point. This will basically allow you to revert all of the optimizations. So just right click on the batch file and run it as administrator. All it will do is just create a restore point. Alright, so boom, it made one. So that's the first step. And the first actual mistake, something that I highly recommend changing, is going to be disabling Windows updates. And the reason why you would want to do that is because when you have Windows updates enabled, they can just randomly start up in the background, and that will completely kill your performance. Another reason is if you install a Windows update, some tweaks may get reverted. So for example, if you use a tool like your free utility, a large portion of those tweaks will get reset by the Windows update. There are many more things that I can list, but I'll just show you how to disable them. So you just have to go into the folder, and then we have this Windows Update Blocker app, run it as administrator. And in here, you can just toggle between enabling and disabling updates. I'm just going to disable them. Of course, if you want to ever install one, just open the app again, enable it. And another thing is Microsoft Store doesn't work when they're disabled. That's another thing. You can enable them if you want to use it. Anyways, just press the apply all button and press the exit. The next thing that I'm going to be talking about is over tweaking your PC. This is something I see happening a lot. There's people who use tens, if not hundreds of different guides or tools to optimize their PC. I actually used to do this myself when I first discovered what tweaking was in like 2020. And trust me, it wasn't a good idea. I literally just used to apply every single guide that I saw on YouTube. That's just not how it works. Now, I just generally recommend sticking to like one or two tools. For example, our free utility is a really good all-in-one optimization tool. And additionally, if you want to do some extra stuff to your PC, you can watch videos from people like Tech and others. Moral of the story is don't over tweak your PC, quality over quantity. Speaking of that, if you want to completely optimize your PC for the best possible performance and lowest possible latency, make sure to check out our website, exmtweaks.com. You can find our premium and standard tweaking utilities there, and those are the most advanced and effective tools that we offer. And trust me, after you use them, you won't need to do anything else to your PC. Anyways, the next thing that we're going to be talking about is hardware acceleration. So for that, you just want to go to graphics settings, just search it up. Here, just press change default graphics settings, and here you have it. So the setting itself says reduce latency and improve performance, but that's not really true. In most cases, it's actually better to have it disabled, but at the end of the day, I highly recommend testing it out for yourself. Play for about 10 minutes with it disabled, then enable it, restart your PC, and test it out. What works for you the best, just use that. And if you don't want to do this, just comment your specs down below, and I'll tell you whichever one you should use. But keep in mind that it won't be as accurate as if you tested it yourself. You can just exit out. That is it for hardware acceleration. So the fourth thing that I'm going to be talking about is using multiple third-party antiviruses. This is a really simple mistake, but I still see it happening pretty often. A few days ago, I was tweaking my friend's PC, and bro literally had Malwarebytes, McAfee, and Avast running at the same time. That just completely kills your performance. The next mistake that I'm going to be talking about is using placebo apps. So there's so many placebo apps that I cannot really talk about every single one of them. So a good example of this is something like filter keys. A lot of people used to say that it decreased input delay, etc. But in reality, it literally just does nothing, or even makes your input delay worse. Corby made a video about it explaining it, but filter keys' original purpose is not even to decrease your input delay, it's just to adjust your typing speed. Another example is going to be Razer Cortex. I'm not saying it's trash or anything, but it just runs in the background, takes up system resources. My experience and many others, it doesn't really increase performance. That's all I'm gonna say about it. There's also other apps like some certain game boosters, which just do your research on them, check out YouTube videos on them if they really help, make sure they're from reliable sources. And yeah, that's all I have to say. And now I'm going to be talking about one of the most widespread misconceptions, and that is going to be trying to achieve extremely low process count. Every day, I see at least 10 people in my Discord server flexing having a really low process count, which they achieved by disabling literally almost every single service except the ones which are required for your PC to even boot. Sorry to break it to y'all, but as cool as it looks, I mean, it doesn't, but there's basically literally no point in doing this. The performance difference between 30 and 90 processes is basically non-existent. Maybe if you're on like a really low end and old PC with less than 4 gigabytes of RAM, you may notice a slight difference having an extremely low process count, but trust me, it's not worth sacrificing your PC's functionality to decrease a number which doesn't even improve performance. My recommendation is having between like 75 to 110 processes. That's what personally I have. Anything lower than that, you won't really get much benefit out of it. But that doesn't mean that you shouldn't disable certain services or features. And that leads me on to the 7th mistake, which is having too much bloatware. It's still really important to debloat your PC by removing useless third-party applications and services. And a really good way of doing this is using our free tweaking utility. Our last video was about it. So after you're done watching this video, please go check that out. I will probably mention it a few times in this video because it covers a lot of things. And the next thing that we're going to be talking about is setting your game mode properly. So simply go into Windows settings, go into game mode settings right here. A simple rule of thumb is if you're on Windows 11, then keep it enabled. And if you're on Windows 10, then keep it disabled. With Windows 11, game mode got a pretty big update. Before, it didn't really do much. It actually made your FPS worse in some cases. And with Windows 11, it actually works pretty well, so I would enable it. So now I'm going to be talking about overheating. I'm sure most of you guys know what that does. If you have high CPU temperatures, high GPU temperatures, it can cause thermal throttling, which will decrease your performance. And of course, the way you can check it is by going into the resource folder, 9th option, and just install hardware monitor. After you have it installed, just open it. And the first thing you want to check for is your CPU package, which this just indicates the temperature of your CPU. I'm getting about 55 degrees, which is decent. It could be better, but I also have a bunch of stuff running in the background and I have some BIOS tweaks applied, so that's what can be increasing it. What I'd recommend doing is a little test. Just turn on the game you play and check hardware monitor to see your temperatures. And if it's above 90 degrees, that means that your PC is thermal throttling, which is not a good thing. It means that your clock rates are going to be lower, which in turn will decrease your performance. And also, it just overheating isn't a good thing. And a few things you can do to prevent this are, the first one probably won't fix it, but it's still a really good thing you should do, is clean your PC. I still see people who don't clean their PC every 6 months or so, which is what I recommend. That can cause dust buildup in the fans, which will, make your cooling worse. Another thing is, if you have overheating issues and you're running certain power tweaks, for example, the ones in my free tweaking utility, there's a warning for that, but some people still seem to run them even if they have overheating issues. If you use my free utility recently and you're having overheating issues right now, just revert the power category. Basically open the utility, go into power and revert it, and that might fix it. Another thing is you can reapply the thermal paste on your CPU cooler or even your GPU, but that is a lot more complicated. There's many different things you can do. Of course, you can buy a better cooler. If you have a laptop, you can get one of those little things which you put on your table and it has like fans on it and cools your PC. Also, laptops will generally have higher temperatures than desktop PCs in most cases. Anyways, you can also check your GPU temperatures here if you scroll all the way down. As you can see, my GPU temperature is about 61 degrees right now. Just anything over 90 degrees, I would try to look out for that. Try to decrease it by doing the things that I mentioned. Of course, it's a pretty complex issue and it can be caused by many things. Another mistake is using a basic power plan. While power plans don't make that big of a difference FPS wise, they definitely decrease latency. I see a lot of people just sticking to basic power plans such as ultimate performance, which the name does sound cool, but if you really look into it, it doesn't do the most basic of things. For example, it keeps selective suspend enabled. I'd highly recommend switching to a more advanced power plan. A good example of this is what I put into the resource folder. It's our free power plan. So you just run the EXM power plan menu. It will install it and import it pretty much instantly. Here it is. And of course, I'm going to stick to my premium power plan since it's better. Here, it also gives you an option to delete the default power plans, which are like balanced, power saver, etc. I'm not going to be doing that because I already have them deleted, but this is just in case you want to get rid of them because they may randomly switch over. So the next mistake that I'm going to be talking about is not having optimized Discord settings. I know the majority of you guys use Discord to communicate with people when you play. I do as well personally. The first thing that I want to talk about is disabling game overlay. It generally just decreases your latency when it's disabled. Decent feature, but please just disable it. It kills your performance. Next, go into advanced and disable hardware acceleration. Simple as that. There are many more things you can do, like disable all things and activity privacy. And yeah, there's different settings here. These are just the main 3 settings I wanted to touch upon. Of course, if you guide want me to make a full guide on it, I can. I already have it for my customers, but I could include it in a future video. And if you use Google or any other browser while playing in the background, I don't know, to listen to like music or something, you can go into settings and disable hardware acceleration, because that may also be decreasing your performance. In any background apps that you're using while playing, just disable hardware acceleration. That's like the main part of it, or any overlay features, because those decrease your performance slightly. All right, so next up, I'm going to be showing you a proper way how to install your new driver for NVIDIA users, because unfortunately I don't own an AMD GPU, but I will link a guide below on how to do it with AMD GPUs. So for that, we're going to be using nvclean install. Run this as administrator. It will show this error, but I'm not going to be using 566.36. I'm actually going to be using this driver, 566.14. Make sure to select the desktop version, or if you're on laptop, the laptop version. Don't install studio drivers, then press next. All right, so in here, you're just going to want to select features that you use. I use shadow play, so press next. Then on this little pop-up, press yes, yes again, and then next. Those pop-ups may not show depending on what you selected. All right, so in here, just copy my settings. Make sure that this is selected, because otherwise it will show like an error with easy anti-cheat. Then press next. In here, just press install, agree to the license, press custom, next. After that, you can press next, but I personally won't be pressing next because I already have the exact same driver installed with the exact same config. And also make sure perform a clean installation is selected. Also, a little warning, you may get FPS drops for about 60 minutes after installing the new driver. When playing, it resets your GPU shader cache, and that needs to build back up. That's what's causing the stutters. After you play for a little bit, it will be fine again. Press next, and after it's finished, restart your PC. Don't be scared, your screen may flash while it's installing. That just happens when you install drivers. The next thing that we're going to be talking about is MSI mode, or message signal interrupt mode. I have a little tool for this. All you have to do is just right click on it and run it as administrator. It will open this little menu. It does look kind of complicated, but I'll walk you through how to use it. I'd recommend selecting MSI mode on basically everything except your internet and audio. You can either set it to undefined or high. I personally use undefined because it's slightly more stable for me, but I've also seen people who get better results when it's high, so I would test this out again. I will show up some benchmarks on screen from Corby, which he did, but in general, undefined is slightly more stable. After that, you can just press apply. So the next mistake is only for desktop users, since you cannot really change this setting on laptop, but the mistake is not having XMP or DOCP enabled. So XMP or DOCP is a setting in BIOS, and when enabled, it unlocks your full RAM speed. And as you can see right now, I have Task Manager open and my RAM is running at 4800 megahertz, which isn't actually my full speed. My full speed is 6000 megahertz. I have XMP disabled, so that's why it's like that. But due to the way BIOS is, and every single motherboard has a different BIOS design layout, I'll just tell you how to find a guide on how to enable it for your specific motherboard. Press Windows and R, type in MSInfo32, and in here, all you have to do is just find your specific motherboard. So as you can see, my manufacturer is MSI and my motherboard is a Z790A. So you just go on YouTube, how to enable XMP on your motherboard, and find a guide for that. I would just go for the one with the highest views. That's everything for XMP. So the last mistake is only going to be affecting laptop users. If your laptop doesn't have a mux switch, your built-in display might actually be routed through your integrated GPU. I know that sounds pretty complicated, but if you want like a fully in-depth explanation of this, watch this video, which is also linked in the description. But the way you fix this issue on your laptop is by using an external monitor that will basically make your display run through your GPU directly. Again, I highly recommend watching this video if you're on laptop. It will fully explain it to you. There's so many different laptops and configurations that it's really hard to explain without, taking like 10 minutes. All right, so that's everything for today's video. I'm sorry if it was pretty scuffed. I only had like a few hours to record it. Thank you guys so much for the recent support. Hope you learned something new from this video, because pretty large amount of useful information in this, and some of the stuff is pretty gatekept. Love you guys. Bye.